Good afternoon. We're going to look at my internship report for today. So before we begin, I'm going to talk about where I did my internship from. I did my internship from Mulago National Referral Hospital, also known as Mulago National Specialized Hospital. My names are Abesiga and here we go. So today we're going to start with the introduction. We're going to look at the background of the organization for Mulago National Referral Hospital. So Mulago Hospital was founded in 1913 and is the main regional hospital for the entire country and teaching hospital. It's the main hospital for the entire country, and it is also a teaching hospital for Makerere College of Health Science. It serves as a general hospital for Kampala Metropolitan and is also known as Mulago National Specialized Hospital, which is a component of Mulago Hospital Complex. Mulago National Referral Hospital is the largest public hospital in Uganda. It was expanded by constructing the lower part of Mulago to offer better services and facilities to patients. We're going to the next slide. We're going to look at the core values, mission statement, vision, and credo of Mulago National Referral Hospital. So, for Mulago National Referral Hospital, out of all the many organizations that I've been to, I have only noticed that Mulago National Referral Hospital is the one with the credo and it has a large number of core values, and I'm going to read some of them to you. The core values of Mulago National Referral Hospital include: the first core value is that our priority is the patient's health and safety, and we also observe the highest professional standards and maintain ethical code of conduct. They are responsive to persons with special needs. All medical and non-medical staff serve with excellence, innovation, and creativity. They are committed to teamwork, and they are also committed to a continuous staff development. They as well preserve and protect the environment. So next we are going to look at the mission statement. Their mission statement is to provide super specialized healthcare training and conducting operational research in line with requirements of Ministry of Health. Their vision is to be the leading center of healthcare excellence in Africa. So their credo is "We are better together." So their core values, mission statement, vision, and credo were a motivation that helped them to run Mulago National Referral Hospital. Next thing we're looking at is the overview of the organization entity. On the 5th of October 2021, that is when I started my internship, I was recruited into the procurement and disposal unit of Mulago National Referral Hospital, and I was assigned to the procurement disposal unit workstation, where I would be seated and carry out my duties and responsibilities as an intern pursuing a diploma of procurement and logistics management. So next we are going to look at the issues of internship engagement, or what we can call the internship problem. So the issues of internship engagement or the internship problem, when we talk about issues of internship engagement, these are the problems that an individual faces while carrying out their internship. So for me, I'm going to first look at the relationship with my supervisor. So during my internship at Mulago National Referral Hospital, I was specifically assigned to one supervisor within the procurement department. So this is the relationship that I had with my supervisor. So the officer who was assigned to me, we had to work hand in hand so as to carry out various tasks and responsibilities in the procurement office, whereby my supervisor had to train me and guide me on some of the activities that are done within the organization, because in the procurement department there are a number of activities that go on. For example, sales, managing of finances, and among others. So I had to develop a personal relationship with my supervisor, which I was able to do. So the relationship between the organization supervisor and I was a good relationship, which was actually demonstrated by frequent communication between I and my supervisor, where I should carry out regular checkups to evaluate, to see how I was doing at my work, and to also assess and evaluate my performance as an intern at the place of work. My supervisor also advised me advice, and she offered me advice, and she also guided me, and which gave me support in case of mistakes that were to be avoided within the organization. In other words, the relationship between the procurement supervisor and I was completely work ethical and close, giving me support and guidance. Relationship we're going to look at is with me and the staff. So since I was recruited into the procurement organization, during that time they did not have a lot of applications for internship, so I was the only recruited intern within that organization. So I had to adapt to each and everything within the new environment. I also had to create a good working relationship with the staff. So my relationship with the staff was really, according to me, it was really good, because in the procurement department it had a relatively low number of employees who are always centralized in offices. Although the offices were divided, we also had a chance to interact with the staff members. But however, since Mulago National Referral Hospital is a government-based organization, and since the president of the country passed an order that only 20% of government workers would be allowed in office, it actually reduced on the number who were actually accepted to work within the office. Others had to work remotely at home, while others lost their jobs. However, for me, I was lucky to get internship at a government-based organization. So the next relationship is between me and the non-procurement staff members. since there was I had limited encounters between me and the non-procurement staff, it gave me a chance to correlate with other staff members from different departments, as well as they were able to give me advice and support that helped me build my confidence while carrying out my duties and activities and responsibilities within the procurement department. For instance, in the administration block, I created a relationship between me and one of the administration officers who could help me with some of my assignments and to also gain access to offices, pick people. The next thing we're going to look at is the relationship between the internship problem and the course of study. So here we're going to look at the first internship problem. So the first problem that is encountered is that interns offer their services free of charge, and since the interns offer services to the organization free of charge while getting a free learning experience, we are always looked at as unpaid labor to some of the employers as compared to other employees. Since most of the interns who are recruited within the organization offer their services for free, most of the organizations do not pay us, and yet we are the ones who are given work to do for them. Although it offers a learning experience to us and exposes us to the outside world and how transactions are made, I do believe that interns are obliged to get a little bit of something out of their work, out of their services that are offered. The next internship problem was a short time assigned to me. For instance, before starting our internship, we were given a period of 3 months to learn and acquire knowledge and skills, which whereby this time was cut short due to the long search for an organization to carry out internship. So before getting a place for internship, there are a number of problems that I faced. My health was not in good condition, and also it was hard for me to find an organization to carry out internship, because most of the organizations centered within Uganda are mostly government-based organizations, mostly in Kampala city. Most of the organizations are government-based organizations, and it's very hard to find an internship placement. Then the next problem that I faced was the limited information, since the organization was not able to avail to me information about Mulago National Referral. I was actually pushed to go and search on the internet, to gain access to the internet, to acquire information concerning the organization itself, so that at least I could be able to have something to say or to present during my internship process. Then the internship problem that I faced was the limited resources, which made it difficult to carry out necessary duties. For example, the lack of computers that delayed the information process, which left me very blank. For example, the procurement department, the first time I entered the PDU workstation, I actually noticed the lack of computers, which were highly needed to carry out most of the procurement activities, which included availing of information, availing of documents, passing on of information from one department to another. And so most of the time I was always cut off to this information. For instance, my boss, like the head of PDU, he actually requested that a computer be availed to me so that I could be taught most of the processes that are carried out within the procurement office and to help them get some of their work done. Then another problem that I faced was the disorganization of the registry. So I read the registry. This is a place where files were piled up. Like a registry is a place where their most important and vital documents or data are recorded and stored for future use. So within the second week before carrying out my internship, during the second week of my internship process, I was handed over keys to the registry office and the workstation as well. But my first duty was to organize the PDU registry. So what I noticed is that their files were piled up according to their financial years, and they therefore had to be sorted and organized. However, as an intern, I was to organize all the documents according to their financial years of entry. But the only problem that I faced while doing this was that most of the sacks were heavy to lift, and the room was dusty and it needed cleaning, and it couldn't be cleaned before all the files were neatly arranged into their financial years. Then another problem that I faced during my internship was a lack of provision and of transport and lunch. So as an intern, we're all given. No, actually, we're not given any money by the organization to cater for ourselves. However, we are forced to vend for ourselves as interns, which actually pushes us to request for money for provision of our transport and lunch or basic needs from our parents. So for me as an intern, what I did while interning at Mulago National Referral Hospital, I could ask my parents for money. I could request for a certain amount of money that could help me access transport, that could move me from home to work on time, so that I could not miss any activities within the procurement office. And also it was very difficult to get lunch. You'd have to spend money within the restaurants, whereby you had to spend most of their food was expensive. And another internship problem that I faced was the gap difference between the information given by the organization and that of the university, whereby the information given to us by the university, some of the information is limited to us students, whereby we are required to go to libraries to get books and acquire more information on what is required to do within the procurement department or while studying procurement and logistics. However, being given the chance to be exposed to the outside world and be able to get exposed to the working environment, you get new information that helps to build the level of education that is going to be used within the higher level of education. For instance, being given the opportunity to look at new documents, for example, memos, call of orders, RFQs, which is also known as request for quotations, contracts, being able to look at those documents and to see how they are organized, how they are developed, and how they are arranged, gives us, the internees, a new experience of how to create these documents, which is not actually taught to us, but however is shown to us in books and is explained to. The next thing I'm going to talk about is the description of internship activities carried out at Mulago National Referral Hospital. So the first activity that I carried out was the handling of clients. On a daily basis, Mulago National Referral Hospital had clients come within the procurement office who needed to speak to the head of procurement. This would actually as an intern, you are actually required to handle the department's clients in a very, very organized manner. You had to dress accordingly. You also had to. So as I was saying, aside from the dressing conduct that had to be presentable to the clients, you also had to have good communication skills, patience, good listening skills, and you are also required to know how to handle the clients. For instance, if a client came with a query and had a complaint, you had to be able to first listen to the client rather than getting into an argument with them, to protect the image of the department and as well as the image of the organization. Another internship activity was arranging and attaching documents to various files. Here so I was still explaining the point of arranging and attaching source documents to their various files. For example, so as I was saying, some of the documents that are held within the procurement department include the memos, call of orders, requisition vouchers, contracts, financial years, bank statements, bidding documents, which had to be prepared the day before to ensure accountability during the contracts committee meetings. These contract committee meetings were usually held every Tuesday and Thursday to deal with the queries that had been brought up by the procurement department for solving. Another activity was data entry. For example, it required typing out handwritten documents using computers. Then there was providing custody for documents. There is a provision of data entry. In the procurement department, there was always a provision of a data entry office, also known as the PDU registry, where most of the vital documents and files for the procurement disposal unit are kept. For example, the RFQs, invoices, memos, contract documents, bidding documents, financial statements, which actually made it easier to retrieve information needed by the department or the organization. Then another activity was studying of tax invoices. I was given the opportunity to see how a tax invoice looks like and to be able to handle it for the first time. So I was able to acquire skills and knowledge on how to prepare a tax invoice, to study it and see what it looks like and how it is developed and issued out. So another activity that I carried out, I acted as a sales representative for the organization, where I was given the opportunity to authorize that the goods and services that were to be provided to the organization were legitimate rather than being illegal. For the procurement department to handle illegal goods and services would actually become a problem, and it would actually be a court case, because dealing in illegal goods and services is actually forbidden within the country. Then another activity was to ensure proper authorization of documents. This was done to make sure that the appropriate documents are handed over to me or to the secretary and availed to their right destinations and officers for approval. There are also other activities that I carried out, which included attending contracts committee meetings, whereby I told you every Tuesday and Thursday the procurement department unit, procurement disposal unit, had their contracts committee meetings held every Tuesday and Thursday with other members of the contracts committee. This was done to handle the queries of the procurement department and other departments to come to one agreement on how these services could be availed to them. Another activity was acquiring stationery from the stores, which would require me to go with a requisition form that had to be cross-checked before any stationery was issued to our department of procurement. This stationery was actually necessary to carry out the activities within the procurement department. Another activity was to monitor the cleaning of the PDU workstation. So the PDU workstation is where I was stationed to work with the secretary. So whenever clients could come in and they were looking to speak to the head of procurement or one of the procurement officers, they would first have to go through the secretary who was stationed within the workstation. So they had to, every morning or whenever they came in, they had to find the office cleaned. They didn't have to find like office being dirty. It didn't have to be dirty, disorganized. It had to be cleaned every morning so that it can be eye-catching to the clients and not chase them away. It actually helps to attract in more customers within the business. Having a clean office gives the department a good image. So the next thing we're going to look at the methods used to address the problems. So the methods that I used were observation, documentation, assessment, interviews, and planning. So for the observation method, I focused on daily operations and observed the activities that took place within the procurement department. I took notes about what I can observe, like their operations, how their activities were scheduled for working, and so on. For documentation, this includes both written and not written and non-written documents. Examples of the written documents include memos, agendas, bidding documents, call of orders, issue vouchers and requisition vouchers, contracts, and so on. The non-written documents include photographs and video recordings. For instance, during my internship process, on one Tuesday morning, I was actually requested by my supervisor to go and attend one of the contracts committee meetings, and since I was asked to do that, I actually decided to go with a notebook, a pen, and my phone to note down the required information. And since I didn't want to miss any point of information, I also recorded the meeting for a few seconds. I actually recorded the meeting. It wasn't a few seconds, I actually recorded the meeting so that I couldn't miss all the necessary information that was needed within the organization. Then the assessment method. The assessment method was only carried out during the contracts committee meetings held to voice out the queries of the PDU department. Then with the interviews method, here I would be asked a number of questions to find out how much had been covered and what I know. However, this is also a two-sided method, because I could also ask questions when I was given assignments which I did not understand. So during these interviews, I noted down some of the questions that my supervisor asked me. She asked, some of these questions include: do I know what an LPO is? Do I know what an LPO looks like? She also asked me whether I'm still studying, which university I'm studying from, what have I learned so far, and whether the information I've learned is vital and important to me. Then the next method was planning, the planning method, which was done on a regular basis to ease the workflow of the procurement department. So without planning, everything would be held at a standstill. For example, how the procurement department had contracts committee meetings every Tuesday and Thursday to deal with their queries, so as to not collide with other activities of the procurement department. Next, we are going to look at solutions to the internship problems. So some of the solutions to these problems include the following. I befriended the employees within the procurement department and outside the procurement department. While befriending these people, I would be able to get assistance. I would get assistance from them on some of my assignments, where they will guide me on what to do and what not to do. I could also jot down notes. Jotting down notes is like writing down all the pieces of information that I have acquired within the limited time given to me to study. This would help me to remember and help me to finish my assignments on time. Then, for the problem of transport, high transport costs and no food, here I used to request my parents for money to make everyday journeys to the place of work and cut down transport costs. There's also another thing that I used to do. So in order to cut down the transport costs, my mother would offer me a ride to work, since she worked in the nearby area within Mulago National Referral Hospital, which made it easier for me to make it on time at the place of work. And another solution was to maintain good working relations with both the clients and employees, as well as my employer. Here I would be able to correlate with the workers, clients, and my employee, so as to maintain my name within the organization. And then also it helped me to develop interpersonal relation skills, whereby I could be able to socialize with the workers within the organization, and also the non-procurement staff who helped me within the procurement process. I also learned to build on my levels of confidence, to maintain levels of patience, to maintain good communication skills that would help me to go around and speak to people, and to make things easier for them to understand, and to relate with clients, and to maintain a good working relation with people within the organization and outside the organization. Then another solution to the internship problem that I faced was the language barrier. There's always, in the procurement department, there are a lot of transactions that take place between clients and the people within the organization, and the problem that is most likely to be faced is language barrier. So to fix this problem of language barrier, I had to have good communication skills and use the most commonly spoken language, which is English, which is able to be understood by the client and by the people within the procurement offices or department. So since English is the mostly spoken language, it helped me to maintain like good communication skills with the clients and with people within the organization and outside the organization. And that is the end of my internship presentation. Thank you for listening.